All right. Okay, I think we're live on both places. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. If you guys do not know who I am, I want to say welcome to you. Join the Divine Tribe. My name's Tahiri Divine. I also go by Diana, the metaphysical midwife, where we talk about transformational living through archetypal expression. So if you're just tuning in or first time, please don't forget to thumbs up this video, like this, share, and if you're on my social media pages as Instagram or Facebook, particularly like, comment, save, and share. We want to keep this in the algorithm because we want to let all these platforms know that we are interested in keeping things moving here. I hope you guys hear me. I didn't realize my mic wasn't on. Uh-oh, let me see something. Okay. I hope you guys are able to hear me. Okay. Yeah, so I hope you guys are able to hear me. All right, so we're good. Just wanted to make sure we were on both pathways. We were being heard. All right, let's get into this topic. You guys know we're talking about sacred sexuality. We're talking about divine unionship. We're talking about partnership. We're talking about all this stuff: sacred femininity, sacred masculinity, toxic femininity, toxic feminine masculinity. But today's conversation is a very important one as it pertains specifically to those on this path and what it is. And we discussed yesterday about life force energy and Shakti energy, and it's really just our electromagnetic energy, right? And taking ownership and owning that part of ourselves, and not just owning it, because when you own something, that means you know what to do, you know what it is, you know how it formulated, you know what it does, you know how to really maneuver it and energize with it, rejuvenate, all of that information, right? But today I want to talk about something that's important on this path. And one of the things especially important is to really understand codependency, because a lot of us, myself included, I'm not escaped from this, myself included, has dealt with or working through codependency. And there's many different reasons on why one can be codependent. It's just not a one-way thing. And I want to ensure that when we are talking about this, that we know, what does that mean? What exactly is codependency? Just to give some background as we go into the conversation, right? Codependency comes from more so from the addiction healing side. And it was really talking to, or it's a behavioral pattern that people develop when they are either in families that have addiction or an environment of addiction, whether them themselves is the addict or those who they are connected to through familial ties, cultural ties, whatever ties may be, that build a relationship with people that are either overly concerned or exposed and trying to maneuver with someone who is heavily emotional. And I'm using emotional, or someone that is a family member, for say, let's say there's a family member that has an addiction problem and the whole family garners their energy specifically around this person. And the only way that we ourselves, the codependent one, right? They're all codependent, but us ourselves can cope or to get attention is to either add into the environmental behavioral patterns of cultivating our life around this set individual. And those type of relationships can start in our childhood, in our upbringing, and then they actually bleed into other areas of our relationships. We can become codependent on substance abuse. We can be codependent on relationships. We can become codependent on people, systems, in general. So codependency is not limited to just substance abuse or just what we know to be intimate partnerships, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, coupling, whatever. This codependency could be in relationships as far as family, siblings and parents and our community. And we can develop these crutches that doesn't allow us or restricts us. Let's say that restricts us from really expressing our true identity, from expressing our true feelings. And a lot of times we don't recognize that we are in these type of relationships. Hey guys, I see you guys are coming in the chat. Thank you so much. And so the reason why we want to shed light to this aspect, because when we're talking about sacred sexuality, again, we know sexuality is about not so much the act of the physical act of sex that does happen, but it's really about the alchemy of merging our own energy, the masculine principle within our expression, and the feminine expression within our the feminine principle within our expression. And it doesn't matter if you were born with the lingam or a vulva, we both all harness this energy within us, because again, that is our life force energy. And when we're in these codependent relationships, our life force energy is being smothered. It's being it's not allowing itself to be in its full expressiveness. And when that happens, we create a society of people who are dealing with emotional disorders, mental disorders. It can even manifest into a physical disorders, and that limits our ability to have a life. It limits our ability to really expose ourselves to a life worth living in freedom. And a lot of times we're not free when we're living in codependent relationships. We feel like we're tied. We feel like we're stuck. We feel like there's no way of getting out of it. And so these type of relationships may be very much in our 3D experience, but it's actually a spiritual thing too. Spiritual codependency formulates in us when we are not bringing calling awareness to where we are leaking our power. I love that word. It's a power leak. And a lot of us have a lot of different power leaks. And this particular power leak, as it pertains to our life force energy, is going to be about codependency. And I don't want to just tell us what codependency is. I want to also give us some practical solutions. These have worked for me. They may not work for you. There's many different ways you can heal through codependency. Therapy is always one. I am a big proponent for therapy. CBT therapy was very cognitive behavior therapy was very good for me, because it was really a refocusing of my mind, because I didn't realize I was in a codependent relationship with my family, with my parents, with my siblings, and how that was sucking the life out of me, leaking my power. Because my experience was every time I felt like I was getting in a place of my life where things were getting really good, things were going smooth, it would be, oh, this person needs money. Oh, this person needs this. Oh, such and such had a baby. They need you to come pick up all these different power leaks. My mother's going through a crisis. She needs your help, right? So I was leaking my power, and I didn't know that I had the right to voice myself. And that's a lot of time what happens is that we're not given space, if it's happening in our upbringing, to really express ourselves, and we're not given the space to really to embodiment. It's embodiment of ourselves. And so what happens when we are now in this state of codependency, we are expecting this person to be the source of my identity and what I'm here to do in the world, right? And that right there is a dangerous place to be, because now we're making this person or situation or substance our God. We're making it our source, our supply. And that right there puts us out of alignment and out of the path of sacred sexuality, out of the path of unionship, right? And so, since we're in Libra season, we got to go into these things. We got to talk about this. Well, how do I, now that I have awareness, like, you know what, I think I'm in a codependent relationship. How do I heal from this? How do I transmute this? How do I get to the space of experiencing bliss and enlightenment through my sexual energy if I'm codependent? The first thing first with codependency is accountability, taking an account for yourself. You are not responsible for the trauma that happened to you, okay? However, we are responsible for maneuvering and transmuting and healing those traumas that happen to us. It's about being our own savior. growing up, I love, and to this day I still do, I love fairy tale stories. Disney. I was a Disney princess girl. I love the Disney princess stories. I really love them. And the negative side of these stories, or negative expression of these stories, will make us believe that someone is to save us. Like we're the princess who hasn't experienced life, who's still very much in a maidenhood, waiting to be whisked away by the young, charming prince, right? So that he could bring me into his kingdom and make me his queen. And the issue with that basis or framework of a story is that it takes away the feminine accountability approach. Hey, beautiful, hello. It takes away the feminine expression of maturity. And the story that comes to mind is the story of the goddess Psyche. For those who are not familiar, I'm going to give you guys a little brief of her story. Psyche was this beautiful goddess. She was so well. She was a goddess that decided to carnate as human, and when she did carnate as human, she was so beautiful, and all the people in the land said she's even more beautiful than Aphrodite. And Aphrodite, who was a goddess, was not having that because she's the goddess of love, beauty, and she was not having that. She was like, "What do you mean? She being worshipped over me? Think not this human person." So she sent an attack. Aphrodite sent an attack towards Psyche where she had to go run and hide. And or no, actually, she sent her son to go attack. Her son, who is known as Eros or Cupid, depending on which, if you're in the Greek story or the Roman story. But anyway, so she sent her son Eros, we're gonna call him Eros, to go after her and shoot her with the deadly arrow. And when he laid eyes upon her, he was so in love with her, and he was like, "Nah, I can't take her out. I'm gonna whisk her away to a private castle, keep her there as my bride." And he did that. And the thing is, his agreement with her was, "Since I saved you, I'm keep you as my bride, and you can live, you can have everything you want in this kingdom, everything that you want in this castle, right? But you'll never be able to look at my face." So they would consummate their marriage, but she was to never look at him. And they have consistently had this relationship day in and day out. Well, nightly, he would come to her, and then they would consummate and do the do, right? Have their sacred unionship, right? And when her sisters heard that where she was at, they came to visit her, and they were like just jealous, like, how is she living in this gorgeous palace? She's the most beautiful person in all the world, and even the people praise her higher than Aphrodite. Her sisters were jealous, and they was like, "Well, how'd you get this?" And Psyche was like, "Oh yeah, my husband Eros, he comes every night, but I never look upon his face, but he makes mad love to me." And so sisters were like, they was not having that. They was like, "Girl, you need to go ahead and look at him. So when he comes over next time tonight, girl, take a candle and put it to the light to him so you could see what he looks like," right? And Psyche was like, "Oh, okay, I guess I should go see and see what he looks like, even though he told me not to, but I guess I better listen to my sisters." So that night when Eros came to her and they made beautiful love, and he fell asleep. And when he did that, she took a candle, and sure enough, she went to put the candle near him so she could see his face. And when she did that, the wax from the candle fell off and burned him and awoke Eros. And he was so upset. He was like, "My love betrayed me." And he ran away back to his mama. Anyway, he ran away back to his mama. And Psyche was so distraught by that because she was in love with Eros. She wanted him to come back, and he wouldn't come back. And she had nowhere to go. She didn't know what to do. And so she decided to go to Aphrodite to petition for Eros to come back to her. And in her naivete, not realizing, like, this woman sent this boy to kill you, and you going to the very person that wants you dead. It I'm going to stop with that story. There's more to her story, but I'm going to stop right there because this is when I want to get into the codependency portion right here. Psyche, she represents the unlearned maidenness that we experience. And maidenhood could be male or female, although we do associate the word maiden to female. But it's just an unlearned childlike part of our psyche that hasn't fully matured, that hasn't had experience. And she didn't have experience. She was pretty much a child. and that was praised and worshipped her whole life. So she didn't have any real responsibility, and to be whisked away into this palace and to be made love to for the first time by this invisible, unknown face person, right? Is supposed to be her spouse, her partner in life, her sacred partner, her divine twin flame, or whatever, right? But had no knowledge of him. But more importantly, she had no knowledge of herself. And so codependency does that to us. It robs us from having knowledge of self. And in order to call in your sacred power back, is that you're going to have to go through a series of unbinding and unwinding to really cultivate your own story. And there's more to Psyche's story on what she had to endure and experience to get to that phase of realizing herself and actualizing herself, right? And being able to take ownership of herself and not allow the externalities to control her experience. And the same thing happens when we are talking about codependency, when it pertains to wanting to draw in our sacred partner. Your first true only sacred partner is usually yourself. That's the first thing that we must always recognize. Where in my own psyche am I not allowing myself, or have I not experienced and expanded my knowledge of myself? Where in my psyche, hey Raven, my love, hello. Where in my psyche am I have blind spots to my experience? And now that I'm bringing this awareness to this, who am I now? Because I don't know who I was. I thought that I was the wife of Eros. I thought I was this most beautiful being, more beautiful than the goddess Aphrodite. And I'm taking the concept as Psyche, right? And Psyche actually deals with her own psyche too. So she had to go through a series of dark nights, and the story goes that Aphrodite sent her on these really weird, wonky missions that were like unfavorable to solve and complete. And then within that story, she found herself. It was really a not just a dark night of the soul, but really a coming to the road of taking ownership of self. And that's what is going to be important within codependency. If you recognize you have a codependent behavior pattern or a codependent relationship, where in this moment can you draw your power back? Because again, we call that a power leak. So where am I going to be able to draw that power back and feel that leak? Because only I am responsible for filling that void. Only I am responsible for ensuring that I have the life that I desire. I can't wait around for someone to save me, or for someone to live up to my ideal of masculine expression, right? Because that's what Psyche was doing. She had not her own cultivation of her own masculine, that she projected that onto Eros. And similar to Eros, he really had no true commitment or attunement with his feminine energy, that he projected that onto Psyche and tried to manipulate and control it. So it goes to show, when we're out of sync and out of harmony with ourselves, whether we're too far in one polarity or the other. If we're too far in our masculine polarity, it's about control, dominance, when we're too far in that, right? And then when we're too far in the feminine polarity, it's not even receptivity anymore. It's passive aggressiveness. It's no boundaries. It's boundaryless. And there are boundaries that the feminine has within herself, but when she's too far over, there is no boundaries. There is no demarcation of what makes you you and what makes me, and where are we meeting in the middle. So in doing all that, that is where we have to figure out, am I in an enmeshment of a relationship? Do I not see myself outside of my relationship with my parents, outside of my relationship with a partner, outside of my relationship with it could be a job, a substance, right? It could be an identity that we take over that's not truly ours. And so now we're in this space of cultivating ourselves, right? Allowing ourselves to now say, hey, I am this, and this is what this looks like, right? And this is the type of experiences I want to cultivate in life. And this is what I'm going to do to ensure that I get there. So it's really in this Libra season, right? In order to really have true harmony and true balance, is going to take selfishness to the point of where you're putting yourself first for you. Do you think about your own needs, wants, and desires prior to somebody else's? And not saying that we're not supposed to consider people. We're always supposed to consider people, especially people that we claim that we want to have relationship with, whether it's friends and business and all types of the ways that we can express relationships. Where are you calling in your own needs, wants, desires, and your own feminine and masculine energy? And when you bring awareness to those areas, is your masculine wounded? Like Eros, right? Is it wounded by betrayal? Is your feminine wounded? Is it wounded by being boundless? Is it wounded by thinking it has to play small? Where is the wound? Or where is the cultivation needs to take place? And so I really say that's where we want to now start connecting with ourselves, whether we want to do that through a teacher, through a therapist, through a self-help book or some workshops. There's so many different avenues that can lead us to healing this space, and not just healing it, but to taking ownership of ourselves. It's really just taking ownership of self and being spiritual adults, because now we want to do that so that we can now express and experience partnerships that are not going to drain us and us too, because we could be the draining one in the relationship. That's one thing we got to recognize. Sometimes it'll be us. Like I be the problem in all my relationships. Sometimes, yeah, you be the problem because you're the common denominator factor. Is that the word? Yeah, you're the factor in all your relationships. In every single relationship, but you are the main factor in every one. So if the relationship was failed or successful, just know that it's your relationship and how you showed up for that. So in the season of calling in divine partnerships, calling in our divine union, we want to make sure that we take wholeness of where we are in our current state, and not to cast judgment. That's the first thing sometimes we want to do. We want to judge ourselves, like, oh my god, I should have known better, or oh, why did I do this? And oh man, no, that's not embracing your feminine side at all. Your feminine expression is compassion, and your feminine expression is also where we no, don't do that, is also too where we learn to give grace to ourselves, while our masculine is where we start to cultivate discipline within the grace that we gave ourselves. Our masculine energy is there to help us push forward. Once we come to the awareness of self, right, feminine expression, then we are now more discerning, that we are now more able to and clear on our focus on where we want to drive ourselves to now. So that is the beautiful relationship that we can cultivate within ourselves and within the expressions of our relationships, the externalities of our relationships when we do that first. So to tie it all in, y'all, sacred sexuality, to being on this path, is really about embracing and bringing light and awareness to where you are leaking your power, right? So if you are dealing or bringing awareness to a codependency power leak in your life, definitely I would be more than happy to work with you and help you, guide you. I say guide you to some tools that helped me, and then other practitioners, if I can't help you, I definitely will definitely guide you to someone else. You are more than welcome to reach out with me and we can book a session together. I also like to give you guys, offer a by Emergence Temple, which is a feminine online mystery school. And we are actually relaunching our courses 11/1, November 1st. So registration is open for that, where we're diving into the feminine archetypes of the mother, the Maya, and the sacred whore. And the reason why I chose these archetypes for us to not just learn about, but also to embody, is because we're really right now in a paradigm shifting of age, where these are going to be the most prevalent archetypes that we're already currently seeing right now. But it's important that we know their classical historical story, we know their myths, we're able to recognize them in literature, movies, music, historical perspectives, and modern day. But then most importantly, this is what I think is so important about these archetypes, and all the archetypes really, is how does their story elevate now that we're in this shifting of age, right? Since we're leaving the Piscean age and going into our Aquarian age, how are these archetypical stories going to transform or evolve? And if they are to evolve and transform, how does that look in us as we embody them? So if you are interested in learning more about these archetypes and embodiments and really taking a higher level to your feminine spiritual path, and this in this class, I want to be clear, it's for females, vulva owners, wherever you fall on that spectrum, as long as you're a vulva owner, this class is for you. And this class is for those who are more on the feminine cyclic path. So if you're looking to be more in tune with your feminine path, the spiritual nature of yourself, the divination of yourself as a feminine resonant being, or just a feminine resonant spiritual being, that's really what that is. Then this class is something, this course is for you. It's a 4-week course. We start on the 1st of November. Registration's in my links below or my bio, depending where you're at, to join us. And then on top of that, we even have a retreat that we'll be doing. It'll be a live in-person retreat in April 14th through the 17th, in Scottsdale, Arizona, where we'll be taking these archetypes and the previous archetypes from the previous class and embodying them in a live manner, working with sacred tantric practitioners, working with some cognitive behavioral therapists. So I'm really excited because I really about my passion is really about cultivating our spiritual practice as a lifestyle and it becoming the culture. When we're talking about I do it for the culture, that's what that means. We're doing it for the culture by cultivating a new, not even new, an elevated experiential reality so that the children and the people who are coming that's going to really push this thing to the next level, have a framework to work with, right? So if you're interested, that's your jug, that's your John, that's your jive. Connect with me, definitely connect with me. So I would love for you guys to stay connected with me. My social sites is Tahiri Divine on all social platforms. You can connect with me that way. Please make sure that you join my mailing list because if we ever have another social media outrage, or out whatever, I want to be sure that we can be in contact with you all. And that's where I really share more of myself and more stories and things that's happening astrologically or insights that come to me. I share that with the Divine Tribe mailing list. And you guys get all exclusiveness. So that's like, who doesn't like exclusiveness, right? Yeah. But awesome. Well, that is all I have right today. I want you guys to take away the understanding of spiritual codependency and how that we can heal it and transmute it and find new paradigms of experiences. Well, I am your girl, your friend, your sister, the student, and the teacher, Tahiri Divine. I love you all. And until next time, bye for now. Bye, y'all.